Hey, welcome to Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf. We're going to dive right in again today. I hope you are having a fantastic Friday. This is first Friday of the month. What does that mean? Jobs report is out. And how did it look? Disappointed in terms of meeting expectations for the third month in a row. Almost 600,000 jobs added. Nothing to sneeze at. That's healthy. Previous month, not so good, was 278,000, I think was the adjusted number. Month before that, though, was a big month. The adjusted number 778,000, I believe. So, bottom line, signs that the economy continues to be turbulent, should we say? As an entrepreneur, as a business owner, probably no news to you, right? We're continuing to ride that wave of stuff that was thrown at us in 2020, that was thrown at you in 2020. How are you getting through that? It's something digging into the numbers a little bit on the jobs report, though, that concern me, because inflation's up and continuing to climb. Separate report. However, when you put that together with the jobs report released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics today, manufacturing continues to slow. Manufacturing took a big hit last month in terms of a sharp drop in jobs, and it didn't bounce back up again like the employment number did. It didn't follow the same trend the employment number did. So could that be an indication that the economy's slowing, right? Manufacturing is can be a leading and lagging indicator depending on where we're at. So if we're looking at a slowdown, it could be a leading indicator because, for example, automobiles and trucks orders have been off for a couple months. So this could be showing that while there was a big correction in jobs for manufacturing companies in April, that it's not really improving. There was a little bit of improvement, but it's not riding that wave. We saw a big curve drop, then back up again in from March to April to May in terms of overall jobs, not in the manufacturing sector. Not surprisingly, government jobs, including healthcare, which is largely driven by the government these days, even though they're not getting their paycheck directly from the government, were those types of sectors were big. The restaurants, hospitality is showing some bounce back in jobs, but if there's not conventions, if there's not manufacturing drawing people to out to doing sales, sales doesn't seem to be bouncing back in terms of number of jobs, then what does that really mean? And how does that affect your business? And I'm glancing down here because I got some notes that I wanted to share with you. So we got there's major areas that are behind in the recovery. Like California has 30% higher unemployment than the median for the rest of the country. Now, what does that mean? It means that California is roughly 2% higher on inflation. Not, as a raw number. This is why you need to be careful how numbers are presented. As a raw number, it doesn't sound huge, 2%. Compared to the rest of the country, that's 30% worse. California's lagging, despite what you may be seeing in headlines. The numbers are showing California's lagging behind the rest of the country in the recovery. Now, does that mean that people are starving in the streets? No. It does mean that, there are places like California and other states that are way behind, because when you have a median, that means some are doing better, some are doing worse. How is that affecting your business? Is that a major market for you? Do you have options outside of that? Or maybe your market is resistant to the impact of unemployment. See, now follow me for a second. So the 2% higher unemployment rate in California translates to over 800,000 jobs. So you have 800,000 to 1 million people that are unemployed that should be employed. Right? This doesn't include the people that are like out of the job market for other reasons. This is just the number of people that would like to have a job. They can't find one. Okay. Basically. And that the government hasn't decreed, because remember, with the government statistics, one of the things you got to watch out for, if someone's out of a job for what the government deems to be too long, then they just reclassify them as self-employed, or they're no longer considered unemployed. Whole nother conversation for another time. It says think about it, 800,000 to 1 million, which means that they're drawing benefits off the taxpayers, right? They're getting unemployment benefits, they're getting federal unemployment benefits, they're getting the extended payments that the feds are giving out through September now for people to not work. So that's having an impact on how the money is flowing in huge markets like California and other states that are in some. They're not the only state. It's just a good example. Don't want to inundate you with statistics because that gets boring as heck when we're just having a conversation like this, right? So comment, how is this affecting your business? Oh, wait a minute, want to adjust something. There we go. How is this affecting your business? What does this mean for your business? Wages are increasing slightly. So one thing about manufacturing, looking at the jobs report again, manufacturing capacity seems to be running at about max, right? The average, the amount of hours that are being worked by manufacturing folks is 40.5 in hours per week, right? So consider that a little bit of courtesy overtime. In terms of overtime pay, there's 3.3 hours. So both of those have crept up. Could be an indicator that factories are running pretty much at capacity, but they're not investing apparently in more capacity. Temp hires is down again. So the temp hire market continues to decrease. So for whatever reason, taking the manufacturing as an example, okay, they seem to be kind of stabilizing where they're at. They think that's the right spot, or there's enough uncertainty in terms of whether business is going to pick up or drop that they're not reaching out to temp, right? Temp hires are a good indicator of short-term increases in positive economic stuff, right? When you've got a short-term bump, you're not sure how long it's going to last, or to make capacity improvements within your company, it's going to take longer than you've got in order, something big, like say a 6-month opening a new building, expanding a facility. Then typically you hire some temp labor, right, to fill in the gap. Or if you need to hire more permanent people, it takes a while to hire, to do it right, to recruit. We've had conversation on recruiting versus hiring. So let me just use the right word, to recruit. It takes a little while. It's not something you're like going, okay, bring some, you're just not grabbing someone off the street at random and bringing them in. You better not be. Which brings us to another indicator of turbulence and concern is shrinkflation. It's a word that I picked up in some of the articles I was reading this morning about the jobs report, shrinkflation. So what does that mean? That means you're getting less for more, right? Instead of raising the cost of a can of beans, you just make the can smaller. There's a lot of that going on, enough that it's making it into the press, into the media reports. So, it's got to be significant to get reported as a negative in the current media environment. Yeah. Anyway, so watch for shrinkflation. And again, that's another, how is that impacting you when your team is buying resources, buying stuff that you need, raw materials that you need, to run your company? How is shrinkflation affecting you? Are you, does it mean you have to buy more, which means spending one way or the other, you're spending more? Are you hearing from suppliers that, hey, costs are going up, or the packaging is going to change? Or are you getting blindsided? How do you train your people to respond to that? What guidance do they have? What authority do you have delegated to them? How's your policy and procedure giving them guidance or communicating to them that, what they need to do? And here's why I touch on it. There's so much turbulence going on in the marketplace still that as you've experienced, we're into June, right? We're halfway into the year, which means the marketing year is almost over. We'll come back to that in a second. We're into June. So as you've experienced most likely this year, you need to stay focused on the market, on seeking opportunity, avoiding pitfalls, finding opportunities, and also on maintaining and strengthening your strategic relationships, right? Please don't tell me you're doing this. Hopefully you're saying yes, and you've been doing it. If not, you need to get focused there, which means operations needs to be running smoothly. They need to understand what they're doing. You need to have self-correcting feedback within your operations. How's that set up? Quick story. Company I worked for, we were transitioning a product from development into full production, and it was for a specific customer. It was a very high tech product, and if you work in technology, when you're at the bleeding edge, it causes problems. This was a technology product in let's say in the field of antennas for aircraft, and you go into more detail, but it's not really relevant. So we were pushing the state of the art on stuff that we were doing, which creates its own challenges. Moving from production to from product development to full rate production is its own set of challenges. And one of the things that happened, we had a standing meeting every day, every morning, first thing, right? So the director of manufacturing is on the manufacturing side of the house. Director of manufacturing would hold literally a standing meeting every morning at 7 a.m. And everybody had 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you had some problems you needed to hash out, but everybody had 5 minutes max to give status of what's going on in your area of responsibility. What's the update? We need any help with anything, any concerns or challenges. And one of the biggest problems that we ran into this is in a company of 300 people. So not small, but by no means huge. Company of 300 people. And nobody had read the policy and procedure manual. So communications was messed up. People didn't know, so like it was a dogfight every morning. And as we started getting back to, what we should have been doing, it's like, how are things supposed to work? It's like, well, why aren't we doing this? Well, where does it say we do that? Well, because that's the ways to find a policy and procedures manual. It's like, oh, really? And it turned out that only one of us, and then a second person, my counterpart in another part of the operation, were the only two that had read and were reading and studying the policies and procedures, man. And it helped unwind a lot of the problems, but also identify where we needed to make changes, why some things weren't working, and where things had gotten honked up because it was being ruled by bullying. And here's the thing. If you don't have clearly defined processes, how does stuff work? It works by force of ego more than anything else. So the bullies win, and you don't have a process. You've got a bunch of people fighting it out to try to do their best for what they think they're responsible for getting done that day, as opposed to having a smooth process of having a smooth value stream. And right now, value stream management is hugely important because you need to have the ability to look out here in the marketplace and say, okay, here's an opportunity we need to seize, and then be able to follow how that value, right? Because that means there's value you can deliver into the marketplace. How do you deliver that value all the way back to your raw materials? The better you are at managing that, the better everybody understands that, the clearer that it is, the faster you can adapt, because everybody knows what they need to do to change. And it keeps everything focused on delivering value out here, right? Because we see all these economic numbers, it's a mess. You look in the media, it's a mess. You look at the never-ending pandemic. Now the media is already starting to promo. Oh, there's new variants, and maybe we need to be locked down for another year or two. Maybe we'll never get rid of. It's just all this noise going on above and beyond the normal shit show, if you will, that is presented in mass media to people, that has their head out of the game of delivering value for your customer. It's why value stream management is so important. We'll deal with that topic. If you want to hear more on that topic, put it in the comments, and we'll do a series on VSM and how it's important. But get your operations in order. Make them clear. Make sure you've got authority delegated. Instead of answering people's questions and solving their problems, you need to have them handling that, so you can focus on the stuff in the marketplace, so you can focus on the strategic relationships and make sure your business thrives and takes advantage. Look, there's a huge opportunity, right? The bigger the pile of crap, the bigger the opportunity. It's ancient wisdom. In every adversity lies a equal or greater seed of opportunity. So given the mess that 2020 was, the mess that 2021 has been, there's huge opportunity, right? There's a massive pile there. Get a shovel, find the ponies. Okay, dig them out. You can't do that if you're mired down in refereeing problems in operations. Right. And as you've got a company, by the time you get to 50 people working for you, you better have clearly defined processes, operations, roles and responsibilities, and people, a leadership team that you can delegate to, so you're not being drawn down into all the day-to-day operations. It's not where you need to be focused right now, or you're going to be one of the businesses that doesn't make it. And there's going to be a lot of those. So that's my rant for today. I want to hear, as always, I want to hear your comments. Hit the like button. I appreciate that. Lets me know that the topics are resonating, and even more, this is an interactive conversation. So if you're watching this on replay, Want to see your comments. Let me know. Is this irrelevant? Do you think I'm wrong on this? That maybe that what I say is something that's a negative could be a positive, or the other way around? Want to hear that. Also want to hear what you're thinking, what you're experiencing, so that together we can pull information in, like we did yesterday with Joe DeShira, when we talked about a CPA, an entrepreneur who happens to be a CPA. So the way he described himself is very true. From a CPA's perspective, some of the stuff that's going on and mistakes that he sees businesses making in the current environment. We're going to have more of those kinds of interviews coming up, those kinds of conversations coming up. And, it's there so you can interact and learn like I am. I learned from a conversation with Joe. That's why I like talking with Joe and folks like him. Anyway, I got to run. I know it's Friday. You got to get going. Have a safe weekend. Charge the hill. Reach out to people like me and other folks that'll charge the hill with you. And thanks for being part of Wolf's Watch. I'm Wolf, and I will see you.